Round number 4 of the National Cyclocross series, and we're back on the start line with the big boys, and it wasn't a massive field, so I have managed to get on row 4, and this is the first cyclocross start at UCI level that I've fully committed to. And just thought, Nick Craig said to me before this, when I was like, do you get scared about the start of a race? I was like, I'll worry about work, and he just looked at me and said, don't worry about work. And I thought, alright then, Nick. Anyway, a little gap opened up here and I just thought I'd go for it. I've absolutely whacked it with everything I've got. Look at the Hope guy in front of me here. He gets close. Look, oh! If he had gone down, it would have been pure carnage. But he saved that like a true champ. And now coming down into here, it was just off dismount, pure carnage. You can see I've got a pretty good start. If you look on the left, that is the front of the race there. And I'm picking you. If you're wondering why you're in the air right now, it's because I'm trying to lift my bike over everyone's head. I was trying to get as far up as I could, because when you're trying to race these and survive the 80% rule, it's super important that you get a good start, because it's when Thomas Main and the front boys get their fastest lap in, that first lap. So you're at a massive disadvantage, because you're in this absolute dogfight back here to get places, and we're running here. I don't even know if I get back. Oh, do I get back on the bike? Oh, I have no idea. No, I think I ran this whole section just because I could see everyone else running. Oh no, I do eventually get back on for like a split second, and then the legend that is Nick Craig tries to sneak up my inside. But anyway, yeah, you're just trying to get as far up as you can, and it's elbows out, a dogfight for every position. And I'm not in a bad spot here. I got back past the Hope rider there, but he comes back past me. But I think I sneak past him here because I get a bit of a better line through the mud and get a little bit better grip. But it was the first proper mud bath of the season, I'm not going to lie, and it was tough. I just really struggle with that seated power, but I'm still in it here. I'm still doing alright. We can actually see the front of the race for once, but we come into this muddy section, and I tried to use what Nick told me, hit it with speed, get as far as you can, but I probably dismounted a split second too late. And if you watch the video I'd done with Nick, it was interesting how he was saying you can just lose a second here, second there, where you're not anticipating in time that dismount. And just then you saw that exactly. I come to a pretty much a halt before I dismounted, and that's the thing that you need to really nail. And I'm going to try and get... What are you doing there, Oscar? You can't park there, Oscar. I don't know what he was doing on the floor. Sorry to change the subject, but I did message Oscar and said, what on earth were you doing down there? And he replied, he thought he saw a fiver. Top boy. But anyway, yeah, I need to get better at what Nick said about anticipating when you need to dismount, remount, to save every last little second, because these little bits here, I just didn't. You can see some of the boys are riding it, but I've had to pick it up and run because I just didn't. I give you a little clean while I'm running as well, because I just didn't have the power. But look, some of the boys are getting so far through the mud. When you've got that power, that seated power, it does make a big difference. And Sarah said it to me. I think she said it was Simon Wiley who was like pretty much riding all the way through that mud, which is super impressive. But I mean, he came like on the podium, so he's a top rider. But yeah, one thing I had to do was just decide before the race the sections that I was gonna run. And I've always said, like, you can see I've got the power for the first lap, which is good, but obviously when I bike change we're gonna lose it. But yeah, you can see boys are just absolutely pinning it to move up. But yeah, the one thing I've always said is I am a really good runner. It turns out I am really not a good runner. Compared to these guys, I am extremely subpar at running. I think I'm just good at, like, you know, just grunt work, just getting it done when it's miserable. When it gets miserable, that doesn't bother me. Some riders get a bit funny. And another thing that I was really committing to was just getting in these ruts, just absolutely sending it. Look, you can see I closed that gap on that rider there, number 27, just because I put the power down and I was committing to just getting in the rut and giving it beans. But yeah, this was probably my best start. So coming through the sandpit before the first pits. I think I was in about 16th place as a guest, so I was pretty happy with that. But there was still some hitters behind me. There's a couple of Hope boys that are much stronger than me. Obviously Nick Craig is behind me, but we are flying right now, baby. What is going on? Georgie boy is actually putting in a performance at national level, and I think just where I didn't have time to worry about it and get in my head like thinking do this, do that, blah blah blah, get scared, because I was focusing so much on making the video in Nick, and he was like, he's just so chilled out about it. I think it helped me massively, stopped me like panicking and stuff like that, and I just got my head down and actually raced really well. So I'm super happy with that, and I'm going to put it out there, although spoiler alert, I did get cut, I didn't make it through the 80% rule. I feel like this is my best ever performance. I know this season before I did make the 80% rule, but this year I felt like I was actually racing. I felt like I was racing these boys. Sometimes I turn up to these national level races and I feel like I'm just making up the numbers, just trying to survive, get round. And I felt like I was in the mix. Foot out, boy, foot out, flat out. But down here, it was definitely not as muddy as what we had the year before when we were running pretty much the whole race. But this little section here, you really had to just dig deep to try and get through that mud. It was thick. But I can't imagine the conditions the guys had on day 2, sorry. But still in the mix, probably just inside the top 20 now. I want to guess like 18th. And a few of the boys go into pits here, I think, in a second. And I decided not to pit again. I'd already made up my mind before the race that I was going to pit the other side and then get a fresh bike for this side we've just done, because I felt like it was the least muddy side of the course. So you'll see a couple of guys going to pits on the right, which means I think I move up a spot. And this next section was where I realised I'm actually a pretty bang average runner. These boys know how to run. I kid you not. Look, I'm going to keep the camera running, but people were just coming past me like absolute Usain Bolts. And I don't want to make excuses, like look at that, I've lost a place there on the run. I don't want to make excuses, but I am keeping the camera clean for you guys as well. But I decided to run this corner. I felt it was a little bit quicker and then get back on the power after. But yeah, my running is poor. I'm not going to lie. We watched a video, I'm going to do a separate video on it maybe. We watched a video of Thomas Main, Toby Barnes and Dan Barnes running through that mud. And it was phenomenal. They are striding. We watched me, I was plodding. Sarah was laughing at me that it was that much of a pathetic run. And I've always said to her I'm an absolute Mo Farah at running. But it turns out I'm not. But we're still in the group and we're coming into the start-finish straight. So I just knew right now you need to be on a wheel, because that fast tarmac drag, you want to try and recover best you can. If you're on a wheel and they're taking the wind for you, absolute result. But one thing I noticed is the boys just absolutely pin it every time out this corner. Look, they're out the saddle ripping it. And if you're not on that wheel straight away, look, you're doing 400 watts, 400 plus watts, which is more than enough for me. But I think this is when I start trying to move up. I'll maybe make up a place here in a second. But yeah, it's so much different when you're able to actually take a corner and not have to worry about all that traffic like on the first lap. The other problem is mistakes are made, like that foot out there, and then I lose a place to the Hope rider. I think that was the rider that got in that little jostle on lap 1. I'm not 100% sure, but yet again we're off running and there was a lot of this, and you can see the Hope riders stayed on, and I've tried to go around the outside, and I did just about. I do start to make up a place. We've got Sullivan for Rota in front of me, and I've always got to keep one sharp eye on him because he's taken me out big time before. But I think in a second I do manage to get past him on the muddy bit. But these ruts you just had to commit to, and I was absolutely loving it. Like, some people hate this course because of how muddy it gets, but honestly, when you just send it into a rut and shoot out the other side, there is no better feeling. You feel like Wout van Aert for 10 seconds. But yeah, this bit here, I did run it earlier this time. I didn't come in with a pace. You see the Hope guy, he really attacked it. I'm already off running. And this is where I think I get past Sullivan on this remount section here. But yeah, so I lost a place to the Hope guy, and at this point I'm just like, just get back on the bike and start whacking it. I was running too far there. Looking back in hindsight, I should have remounted far earlier, but you're sort of thinking, oh, I want to get as far as I can, try and get through all this mud, but I was actually losing time through not remounting a little bit earlier. So it's really good watching this back and seeing all the elements that I could have done better on. So we're coming back into the sandpit. I think I'm still probably just clinging on to a top 20, but I remember looking round now and thinking, Mr. Nick Craig is on my tail, and you know what, he's got that sort of pace that once he gets into his rhythm, it just doesn't slow down. So yet again, look, I am running my nuts off right now, and the boys are just so fast. And you can imagine, we're in 20th now. You can imagine how fast the first place runners are. It is ridiculous. But anyway, this is when I first decided to pit. The bike was getting clogged up now. So anyway, Del Boy goes to work. Anyway, I ended up in no man's land for a bit. Then I lost the place to number 14. I think that's Giles Drake maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I think it is. Anyway, he's an absolute monster. He's a top 10 rider if it is him. So I was just thinking, every time a rider did come past, I was trying to jump on their wheel best I could, but some of the power sections I just didn't quite have it. But what I did notice is I was able to like shut the gap down on some of the corners. But you'll see here, the legend that is Mr. Nick Craig showing you how it's done. Look, he just stays so smooth and makes it look effortless, just straight round the outside and absolutely no dramas. It's super impressive to watch. You're just going to get to see how easy he makes it look. To think he didn't get a good start, he went into pits there, and I managed to get back in front of him. And when I was speaking to him, there was loads of stuff I left out of the video, but he was telling me how he doesn't actually do any run training anymore because he had a knee op, so the only time he runs is during a race. Look how fast he is when he runs. What on earth? Look how fast his legs are going. See you later. He gapped me by like such a distance on the run, but I managed to get back on him half a lap later, and I was like, cling on to Nick. If you want to beat the 80% rule, Nick Craig is the man that you need to keep up with, because he always finishes the race. I don't want to jinx him in case he doesn't finish it in the next one, but look at the lines he takes. Goes wide and then he gets the hammer down. I think it's just here where I dive bomb chop him. Sorry Nick, I know you said you didn't like that, but it's got to be done. I'm a chopper. That's how I roll, baby. But anyway, he does come straight back past me and gets me back anyway, so can't do anything about that. But I got my moment of glory chopping the old boy. But this is where it went wrong. In this drag, they managed to ride through it. Look, you can see how effortless Nick's making it look. I'm running, and once I lost the wheel, I couldn't close the gap back down. And in hindsight, I wish I'd tried to ride that section at least once during the race. Like Nick was saying, it's always good to try something new. If you see that happening, and I saw that happening on the lap when they pulled away from me, but I just didn't have the confidence to try it, and I just decided to run it each lap. But I did manage to shut the gap down onto 21. I'm not sure who this is. Someone will probably, it might be Flynn Gregory. I've jumped back on, and we lost Nick Craig's wheel. You can see in a second just how far away he was. He is that rider there on the left now. So within like half a lap, he is gone. Just once he gets into that rhythm, it's crazy. But yet again, boys are just so fast at running. Who is this guy? Mo Farah. Look at him go. Honestly, it is ridiculous. Look, he's gapping me. I thought I was absolutely flying. I managed to shut the gap down. But then again, people just kick so hard on this drag. Look, kicking, 600 watts. And if you don't get on the wheel straight away, you're not getting any drafting benefit. But I come into pits, get a bike change, number 21 did get a little bit of a gap on me, and then I think this is Rob Jebb maybe that comes past me for Hope, and I'm just like thinking, now we're half an hour into the race, I'm like, gotta jump on that wheel, gotta go with it, give it everything you've got. And Del Boy was absolutely screaming at me, get on the wheel, cover it, and I was just, oh, come on. And anyway, I did make a little mistake here. I don't know whose fault this was, but we literally rode into each other, doing. And I did apologise. I'm not sure if that was my fault. We sort of like crossed lines, but I had an absolute flyer through the mud this time. This is what I mean. It's so good when you race at national level and you're actually racing against people. The last one I'd done at Derby, there was a bit of racing, but I felt like I was just like in no man's land at a lot of like UCI races I've done. So this has motivated me to maybe go to Falkirk for national champs. But Rob pits there, so I managed to get back in front. But when I say, yet again, he is a legit runner, he is legit. He ran past me like a steam train, gapped me here through running. It's just like, how are these boys so fast? I do not know. You can see the different lines people take. They go wide, and I think I need to get better at keeping it more smooth. You can see, look, I dive bomb into a corner and then have to sprint out each time. Yeah, he makes a little mistake here, but you can see the vet riders, Rob Jebb's a vet rider as well, I think, and they take that nice wide line, keep it smooth, and they're so good at corner. Look at him run here. Oh my days. Look at the pace he's running at with a bike. That is phenomenal. I'm blown away. I cannot run that fast. But yeah, as I was saying, they keep it really smooth. And it's one thing I noticed with Nick and a few of the other vet riders that were around me. They just keep the line smooth. I have a habit of seeing the inside of a corner and taking it, but then always having to hit that like sprint out. But I did lose the wheel to Rob in that mud section again, and like I said, I should have tried riding it, but I didn't. But I did then bridge on to this Welsh Academy rider and Ollie Akers, and coming in here, they both decided to pit. I wasn't pitting this side, so it meant I managed to get in front of Ollie and close the gap down on the Welsh lad. But yet again, I really need to work on my running. It's this thick mud. It feels like it's just like you're stuck and you're not going anywhere. But look, they both gapped me on the run, and they got miles ahead of me through this section. Look how far Ollie got ahead through running, and then by the time I've remounted, got going, I've been gapped. I managed to shut the gap down, and now this was the big battle. I didn't realise this at the time, but we were battling for 19th. This time I managed to get on this Welsh Academy rider's back wheel, and he dragged me along this start straight. Absolutely lovely. We managed to get past Ollie. I apologise about the mud. And I think I do manage to get past him just here to move up into 19th place. And do you know what? I wish I had known this was the battle, because top 20 getting the money. So you can see I come up the inside there, little chopper move. But then the Welsh Academy rider decided to get off and run, and he got the place back. And yet again, I'm off running here. I do move the mud in a second, I apologise. But we're off running, and look, I'm just getting gapped. I'm getting gapped on running. Something that I thought I was good at. I need to reevaluate what I think I was good at. I was clinging on for dear life, and I knew I had Ollie on my wheel. So, yeah, look, same again. Lost a place on the run. This is what I love about cross. You've got to be so rounded. You've got to be good at absolutely everything. You've got to be the ultimate athlete. But Team Akers tried to take me out of the game there. In the pits, bloody hell. Del Boy was absolutely screaming at me, get back on the wheel, get back on the wheel, and I managed to shut the gap down to Ollie. And this was, spoiler alert, our last lap, but we didn't know that at the time. I genuinely thought I was going to get a full race, because I thought, well, I didn't know I was battling for the top 20, but I felt like I was having the race of my life. You'll see Ollie rides the steps here, which does mean he gets a little bit of a gap on me, because when he comes out of the corner, he's able to accelerate, whereas I've got to remount. I mean, if you've got the techers to ride the steps, fair play. But he decides to pit, which gives me the advantage again, because I managed to shut the gap down and almost get back in front of him here, I think. But he just about holds me off. But you know we're coming into the run section, and he was shifting. Honestly, look at the speed of his legs. Slow down. Why is everyone so fast at running? So anyway, he gapped me there. Look at the gap they put into me. But I did manage to shut it down on these next few corners. At the time, we didn't know that these were the last few corners. I genuinely thought I was going to get through. But when you come around this corner, I'm going to show you the rider that made it through. And we were the riders that didn't. So just here on the right, I'll pause it. That Hope rider there made it through. We didn't. What a liberty. Bearing in mind, he's literally one corner in front of us, 10 seconds. So that was it. Another week, getting 80%ed, but I'm super, super happy with that performance because I felt like I was actually racing for once at UCI level, and I did come away 21st, top 20 get paid, so no money for me. Ollie, you could have let me come in front, get me first little paycheck at UCI, but it was absolutely wicked, and I'm super, super motivated to get back on it, get training. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.